Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Morning Manna, where we strive to make the Word of God relevant and reachable for you so that you can apply it and actualize it in your life so that you can fully live out your calling and purposes with full assurance of who you are, of what your identity is in the Lord. I want to talk to you today out of the life of Abraham. His story starts at the end of Genesis 11, and it goes on into Genesis, the 24th chapter thereabouts, where he passes the baton to his son Isaac. I want to talk to you from a perspective of be willing to go where no man has gone before. I want to talk to you a little bit about Abraham's story. But the reason why I chose that title is because I'm a big Star Trek fan from way back in the day. And that was one of their slogans, was to boldly go where no man has gone before. And that really excited me. And when I look at the life of Abram at that time, where he was living, he was called to leave his family and go to a place where no one in his family had gone before. In fact, he didn't even know where he was going. Now, I want to tell you, I'm not going to read the text for you today. I'm going to give you an overview of it. And I want you, in your spare time, to go back and validate what I'm saying and allow God to use this text to encourage you that sometimes in your life, you will be called to go into spaces and to try to use new skill sets and to meet new people and do things in ways that you have never done them before. And I hope this word will encourage you to grab hold of it. And what's in my mind right now, from the book of Luke in the New Testament, is when Jesus had Peter and the fishermen. They'd been out fishing and they hadn't caught any fish. And he came back. He came to them and told them, launch out into the deep. So whichever of those really resonates with you, that's what I want you to grab hold to. But I want you to be willing to try different things and to be willing to change in order to grab hold of your calling and walk in your purpose. Abraham, now his name was Abram to begin with, and he was living in the land with his father and his family. And he had a wife, her name was Sarai, and she was barren, could not have children. And he had a son he had a nephew whose name was Lot, who I suppose was like the foster parent for. And God came to him and told Abraham to go to a land that I will show you. And Abraham, well, let me read just 2 verses. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of your country and from your kindred and from your father's house unto a land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be blessed. And I will bless them that bless you, and curse them that curse you. And in you all the families of the earth will be blessed. Now, many of us, I'm sure you also have felt in your heart the Lord leading you to do something, and you also felt in your heart that you should do it. Maybe you felt you should do it, but you weren't confident in how to proceed, or maybe you doubted the voice that you heard and you kind of waited and didn't want to go forth and do it. In Abram's case, he heard the Lord and he obeyed. He went forth. Now, we could do a separate teaching on should he have taken Lot with him? Was he called to take Lot with him? Why did he take Lot with him? Was it a good thing or a bad thing? How did it impact humanity and history throughout the rest of history? We could talk about that. But for today, we're focusing on Abram going out and doing what God called him to do. Now, I imagine that at that point in his life, Abram had some responsibilities in his family. He got up. They were an agrarian society. He got up, went out, took care of his livestock, took care of his fields, came in, ate, perhaps worshiped. There was a lot of strange worship back in at that time because they were still living in that state where people were building idols and all of that. That was still present. And he came in and came out, came in and came out, living his life. But one day he got a call from God, and he was told to go and pack up everything, go to a land that I'm telling you to go to. Was Abram content where he was with his family? Did he have a feeling on the inside of him that there was something more that he needed to do? Did he have that notion prior to the revelation that God gave him? I don't know, but I imagine that he must have known something, because he did not hesitate to go into what God had called him to do. Now, wherever you are, maybe you're content, and maybe you haven't felt led into some particular path, but you have had some feeling of emptiness that something's not right. Or maybe you haven't. Maybe you've just been blessed to walk through each phase of your life and really be where you're supposed to be at that particular time. It's okay wherever you are. But know that when God calls you, it's in all of our best interests that we heed the call and go forth and do what he is calling us to do. Abram went on a journey, not really knowing where he was going. In your life, you won't always know where the path is going to lead you as you are following after in hot pursuit of the things that God has put in your path for you to pursue. But obey and trust and go where he has called you to go. Now, what was interesting for Abram in this whole conversation is that he was going to be made the father of many nations. All the nations of the world were going to be blessed through him. And he had Sarah, who was not able to have children. So they didn't really understand how that was going to take place. In fact, they were a little suspect about whether or not it was possible, but they went forward. Sarah had her comments and different things that she said along the way, not really understanding and believing that the things that they were supposed to do was going to come to pass. So they went on out, and over time, they convinced themselves that they needed to help God. They found Hagar, and she gave Abram Ishmael, and he brought Lot in. Him and Lot had to split the land up. A lot of things happened throughout the course of his life as he was pursuing what God called him to do. Now, I want you to understand one key point out of this story. Abraham was not transformed to his new state when he first began his walk, when he started to take a step and move down the road with his camels and his family and his clan and everything. He went on and he was just the same old person, day by day, doing what he was called to do to move it forward. He was in his 90s when God changed his name to Abraham, when he got that final transformation into that name that really defined who he was. He became the father of a multitude, the chief of the people of God. But God changed his name, and the ultimate point of his calling had not happened. But he was already pursuing what God called him to do and to be what God had called him to be. What can we get out of that? Start walking down your path. And each day you may look at where you are and you may evaluate your competency. You may evaluate your efficiency and your productivity and your success. But I want to say to you that you do not know at what point and in what season your ultimate transformation is going to come. In fact, there's going to be many levels of transformation that you will go through. Don't be so hard on yourself. Keep doing the work. Keep doing what you know you are supposed to do. One of the things that you need to do is learn. You need to be a lifelong learner. You need to have what is called these days the growth mindset. You need to challenge yourself to learn whatever skills you need in order to do what God has called you to do. And then number two, every day, take a minute step, take an action, take some form of affirmative action that shows that you agree with what God is calling you to do. Number three, you want to yoke up with the right people to help you to bring it to pass. Abraham took Lot with him, and then he had to split the land that God gave only to him. Now, Abraham made the decision to do that on his own because he felt it was the right thing to do, so there wouldn't be strife between Lot's group and his group. And then he allowed his wife to bring to him Hagar, and he yoked up with Hagar. And then when he had to go and fight in Sodom for when the kings came and took Lot off and all of the other kings, he did not yoke up with those kings, and he didn't accept payment from those kings because he knew that he needed to be separate. So what can we get out of that? Along your way, you are going to meet people. Some people are going to see your greatness even before you've been transformed. They're going to see what's going to come out of you. You may not even see it, and they're going to attempt to be in your inner circle. There will be other people who will need to be in your inner circle. So as you meet individuals along the way, you definitely want to build a community and a tribe, but you want to be mindful of who you allow in your inner circle, and just keep moving, keep doing the work. Finally, there are going to be some ultimate challenges that are going to come your way that are going to prove your commitment to what you are called to be and to do. Abraham's ultimate challenge was the sacrifice of his son Isaac. You will be challenged in some way. There will be something that you are holding of value that God wants to know, that you put him ahead of that thing. So you're going to be tested. Be ready for it and be willing to put everything to the side in order to serve at your highest calling. The moral of that story is you don't need any idols ahead of God. He needs to be first, and what he is having you to be in your family, what he's having you to be in the community, what he's having you to be in business, what he's having you to be in ministry, what he's having you to be creatively. All of those things have to be aligned and prioritized correctly in order for you to walk in your calling in agreement with him. Now, you can walk in your calling in agreement with man, in agreement with society, in agreement with worldly culture. You can do a lot of things. There's so many things that you can do. Nothing is really held back. Nothing is not allowed. But when you're going to walk that tight path of being a Christian serving, there's some things that you will have to say no to because it will not align with your value system. It will not align with your witness. Just go ahead and go where no man has gone before. Go where God is calling you. And God has never called anyone where he's calling you because you are unique and different. So raise your hand and go ahead and go and do it and be it. And I will be praying for you that you can achieve everything that is in your heart, that God has placed in your heart for you to be and to do. And I'll be praying that you overcome your mindset issues. I'll be praying that you see your greatness and you humbly accept it. I'll be praying that all the resources that you need meet you at each point along the way as you go through your journey to being the awesome person that you already are, and just allowing it to bloom and grow. You have a